We are live.
Okay, beautiful. So
See,
thank you, Alive. Thank you so much. So good evening to every single one of you. I am so excited. I'm delighted that you said yes and you have joined us this evening, because many a times as women, it's not always very easy for us to come to the table. It's not always easy for us to come together and to look at, where we're at as a woman and how can we forge forward together. So I know that you're all very special because you've made the time out of your busy days, out of your busy schedules, and you've joined us tonight. So thank you so much for that. Right. I'm not sure where I've gone. Here we are. There we are. Right. So this evening we have very, very exciting and very inspiring women, exciting news to share with you, exciting things to share together as women. And also we have five, excluding myself, but including myself as well. And now I'll tell you, you know why I've said excluding myself. So we have five incredible women that have come to the table to join with you. We're expecting about 150 women. But of course, things happen, life happens, and things can change. So even if only one of you showed up, we would still be here for you. So please know that we're here for you and we're focused 100% on you. So first of all, we have my very amazing friend, Lisa Copeland. I first came to know Lisa about uh, 4 years between 2015, 2016. And I'd never heard of her before, but I remember sitting in this room, in the back of the room, and I heard her smiles, and I'm like, okay. And then she came home and she was talking about how to like crush fear, but how to be fearless as a woman. And I'm like, okay, this is the woman I need to learn from. When I grow up, I want to be fearless and I want to, want to be like Lisa. So Lisa has more than 25 years of proven success as a very powerful female keynote speaker, a business leader, and a dedicated pioneer in sales and brand strategy. She's been a trailblazer revolutionizing the automotive industry and has received many, many awards and honors along the way, including like top 100 women in the automotive industry, named to board of directors of women in automotive, Women of Distinction Award by the Girl Scouts in CTX, named as one of the 5 most powerful women in Austin, Texas by the Austin Business Journal. She led the first Fiat retailer to break the NAFTA sales record by selling more than 100 new Fiat 500s in 1 month. Woo-hoo. So when we talk about sales, and we know that sales is the engine of any business. The WP Chrysler Award for Sales and Service Excellence. That's the FCA's highest honor. She's named as the Outstanding Business Leader 2014 by Northwood University. And Lisa's consulting firm, Lisa Copeland Global Enterprises, has business owners and entrepreneurs building more scalable, successful businesses that generate more profits through her strategic The Art of the Big Sell, and is focused on selling a movement over a product with a vast client list that includes Google, Subaru, Dell, State Farm, H&R Block, and many, many more. So thank you again, Lisa, for, being with us tonight and saying yes. I really, really appreciate it. And I found out very late last night that it's actually her daughter's baby shower today. So ladies, this is when you don't just have a friend, but you actually have a sister, because this is family. So thank you, and we're adopting you into the family as a friend and also a sister. And we also have Sarah Eid. Sarah is the head of transparency and citizenship engagement within the Ministry of Finance in Egypt. She's an amazing, amazing woman, and has worked for 19 years as a senior economist, directly reporting to vice ministers, and previously the deputy director of macro fiscal policy unit. She holds a degree in science and economics, a minor in political sciences, Faculty of Economics and Political Science. Um, She's passionate about socioeconomics and social entrepreneurship to introduce real transformation in the livelihood of poorer segments in the society, whilst bridging the knowledge and skills gap between government and citizens by raising awareness and citizen engagement among a wide range of stakeholders, whilst enhancing public management of funds and resources to reach the 2030 Egypt goals. During her leadership, she has been transforming. She's been leading the fiscal transparency reform agenda for the last 4 years within the macro fiscal policy. She's currently managing the file with over 40 non-governmental organizations involved from around the country throughout Egypt, while holding leadership positions in 2 non-profit organizations. And I'll tell you why Sarah is critical for tonight as well. And we have again my very good friend, Maddie Sherman. She's the founder of the Women's Economic and Social Think Tank, which is WEST, which is a leading women's think tank with global dimensions focusing on the economic, environmental, and social development of women. At a political level, it also lobbies to raise awareness on key issues that is never for commercial gain. The reason why we have Sarah tonight is, I don't know if you know, but in all of Africa, Cairo is the largest capital city in all of Africa. And we know that Africa is, the population of Africa is, over 1 billion. And so with her work that she's doing in the largest capital city in all of Africa, I feel that carries some real value and nuggets for us in terms of how we're pushing and forging forward in our own small way in our communities. And also you can actually fit over 58 countries into Cairo alone. So she's doing, a great job. I did some studies last year on Cairo in terms of comparing from GDP to, CO2 emissions, all of those things. We did one on Brasilia, and we also did one on Cairo. So that's quite crucial to us being able to achieve meaningful progress tonight. So with that out of the way, again, welcome to each and every one of you. The first thing I want to put forward to both, Lisa, Maddie, and Sarah is we know that women make up 50% of the world's population and also a staggering 70% of the world's poorest. Now, when I read that, I was doing some research last month, my heart broke because I thought, how is that possible in 2020 that we as women, we make up 70% of the world's poorest? There was also another research by the McKinsey Group that indicated that if women were empowered to do and hold the same positions as men, we would add, I think it was something like $2.3 trillion to the global economy by 2025, just by being able to hold, the same positions. So I think it's quite staggering how, if I can almost say, like how far back women still are, how far we are away from like equality, equity, because I'm sure some of you have seen that picture of, what equality looks like if you have people who are short. And of course, I'm always short. So I'm always fighting for, equity rather than equality, because if you put a big fence and you put me there to say, well, you said equality, I'm never going to see beyond, a 5'2" fence. I'm just going to not be able to see. So it's like, can you give me a little bit of equity and just give me something to stand on? So, as leaders, how do we begin to, because if we form 70% of the poorest, and the report further went to say that nurturing self-confidence and empowering and enabling women goes a long way to helping them to be in a position to make the right choices for themselves, whether it's about health, whether it's about education, whether it's about, where they live, all of those things. So as leaders, how have you in your own lives, in your own journey, come to that place of knowing what you wanted as a woman? And any three of you can go first.
Well, I'm going to say hello. It's Lisa Copeland, and I'm coming to you live from Austin, Texas. Hello, ladies. What a powerful group of women. I want to introduce my colleague and my dear friend, Robin Goad. Robin is an executive with Amazon and has got a very, very successful career in corporate America at the highest levels, but she's worked and served globally for some Fortune 5 companies. So I'd like to serve that question up to Robin, because you have worked in the global markets at a very high level. I would embarrass her if I told you some of the things that she's accomplished.
You know, I think I've been in corporate America for probably close to 30 years. And if you guys remember, there used to always only be one seat at the table for women. And we were very competitive with one another because we all knew that there were only so many slots available for us. And I will say it's not where we want it to be. What I have seen in my experience in the corporate world is we tend to make it to a certain level within the organization, and then we couldn't get over that level. But it also was about the time that women would start having kids, and we had to decide, are we really willing to sacrifice what it's going to take to get to that next level? And I appreciate the question, because it really is about what do you want? And there isn't a right answer for any of us. It really is about what you personally want. I will say today in my job at Amazon, I have 4 levels of female leadership above me, which 20 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that 4 levels of leadership would all be women. So I very clearly see there are no longer just one seats at the table. But I can also say that over the course of time, I have made those decisions that were right for my family. I have 4 kids, and I didn't go to certain levels within organizations 10, 15 years ago because it wasn't what I wanted. And so I think it really is, there isn't a right answer. And I don't think that we have to claw and fight like we used to. And it really is about defining what is right for you. And then if you are a female in leadership, that you make sure that you are, paving the way and bringing those women up behind you. And just there's way more room at the table than for one woman in those boardrooms today.
And the thing I would say, Tina, to that is I'm going to mirror what Robin said, but women have to, and I've seen this, so I've sat on corporate boards, including Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, and I was the only woman. There was 17 guys and me, and we were the senators of about 2,400 retailers in North America and Canada. And what was interesting was it was like there was that one board seat. There's that one seat, and it was for her. I happened to be the her. And then when I left and I rolled off after 5 years, they did not replace me with a her, because I guess they'd had enough of her, right? and so I think one of the things that we have to do is, and Tina, Sharon Lechter, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the largest financial literacy brand in the world to this day. And Sharon's got an initiative called Board 2020, and she runs it for Arizona. And I think we've got to see that on a global and a national level. It's that we have to pull the women up with us, because I think what we have found over the years is it's like, I got the seat. I've got this seat. Oh, I'm here. And we've got to advocate to put a woman in the seat on either side of us. Yeah. And I will say I didn't even do that because I was holding on to my seat with dear life.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I have to apologize, Robin. I've got the sheet printed here, and I think I
no worries.
So you have to forgive me, but thank you for saving me. So thank you so much. And I think what you said really in terms of like what we want, sometimes is determined by, I guess, what's going on in our life. And I know that in my own life, I have 7 children. I didn't pop all of them out, but it just happened. I ended up with 7 children. It was great at the time, but you can't refund. Once they're here, they're here. And there's so many times that there were things I wanted to do that I couldn't. I couldn't because it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what was going to be right for me personally as an individual, because I was going through like health challenges. But it took actually, like, my family, not just my husband, but my mother-in-law, like really helping, because I was beating myself up. It's like, no, but then it's like, no, you can't. So how can we as women come to that place where we can, I guess, like, allow other women to step in and hear what they're saying, that actually they're speaking because they have our best interests at heart? Because that's one thing, I know it's really hard, like, in London, in Europe, when I worked in Ghana, all of those things, where sometimes when you're approaching to help, it's like, oh, I wonder what's her motive. But then you just don't, you just realize, actually, no, I see you as my sister. So how can we be able to, because I believe that's how we're going to be able to make, bring change, is, like you said, at least in the end, is having another woman next to us. But how do we get another woman next to us if we don't approach, if we don't say, hey, like, we have to, can we do this together? And just by saying that sometimes is not always welcome. So how do we break that barrier to then be able to open up and create that seat next to the other, next to us for the other woman? And Sarah and Maddie and, both Robin and Lisa, please, it goes to all of you as well.
Sarah, I'll go after you.
Sure, but it's a pleasure to have all of you, your beautiful faces everywhere, and such an honor. Thank you again, Tina, for this opportunity. And I believe for such a time like this, this gathering of women to stand together, it's an amazing idea. So thank you again for making this happen. And just quick reflection, I would say that it took me some time to understand what I really want. And it took a lifetime journey, I would say. And it's kind of related to understanding who am I, so my identity and my value. And this didn't come easily, I have to say this. And I always make like a small metaphor about it, like the butterfly. I believe that my life went through different stages, like the caterpillar. And at the beginning, I thought I wasn't that beautiful, and lots of things happened in my life, challenges with my family, and also my, I don't know if it's the right time to share, but anyhow, the pain component was a very important factor in the equation to understand whom I am. And by the time, through different and external situations like the revolution that happened in Egypt in 2011, lots of things that happened in the government. Also, this made like multi-factor behind, unleashing what I want to do. So I would say that different life stages is very important. At each stage of our life, like Robin said, and beautifully said by Lisa, that at each stage, we go through different situations and different capacities, different jobs maybe, and career that make us understand more and more who we are and what we want. And by the time, there is certain factors, also the pain factor, that make like, some pressing to unleash the potential that's inside of us. And this, when it comes the creativity, and when it comes the new ideas, and this is a little bit the reason behind my story, and to be like ahead of the first of transparency and citizen engagement unit. It wasn't an easy journey, but I am very grateful to each and every one in my life, even the hard persons that made me whom I am now.
Yes. Thank you so much. And Maddie, please.
So my comment is a really simple one. Women, if you're not around the table, you're on the menu.
Ooh.
So if we don't get other women around the table, we can expect the situation to remain exactly the same as it is now. And if we choose to stay silent when we're seeing injustice, when we're not seeing men and women around the table, or inequalities or injustices anywhere in the world, well, you can expect it to happen to you. And I'm sorry, but women, we have to take responsibility for this, because we are neither pushing forward other women, neither are we standing up for those roles ourselves. Tina will tell you that both of us recently joined an organization. It is so male focused, so male dominated, that it took me less than an hour of being a member of this group before I couldn't stay silent anymore. Every single picture that was being posted was of men. Every single group that was being led by men. What happens? I leave, and I leave, and I leave, and I'll leave. I have said my piece on that one. But you cannot stand and watch it, and that is our problem. You have to do positive things. So I'll give you two examples. One, in Europe, we have what is called the EU panel watch. Every time we see a panel with all males on, we tweet all male panel. We have changed the situation so much in the European Commission now that no longer will the Commission put up an all male panel. It takes time, but we've done it. I think it took 6 months to a year, but we've done it. The second example I want to give you is Christine Lagarde, head of the IMF. Every single meeting she goes to, she takes a file of CVs of brilliant women. And she says, next time you are recruiting, please consider these people. And this is what we've got to do. And I want to ask you to remember to do one more thing. It is irrelevant how many qualifications you have got or what jobs you have had. It is absolutely irrelevant. I have no qualifications, none. And yet I am 100% competent at what I do. And there are billions of women like me. So let's get rid of the CVs and let's get rid of this thing we have about qualifications, because it is destroying the world and it is there to stop women progressing. I'll leave it with that.
Thank you so much. And Lisa, you're going to have to forgive me because I said, when I grow up, I want to be like Lisa. Now, when I grow up, I want to be like Maddie. Like, you know, Maddie has a TED talk titled Sex on Its Head. And it's not as you know it, it's talking about like male, female, and talking about how, you know, how would you feel if you're 12 years old and you're mutilated because of physiology? How do you feel that, you know, you can't go to school every month, you miss school because of physiology? All these things, and you know, we know culture has a part to play. I was having a meeting with a friend, and she's based in New Zealand but comes from, you know, Zimbabwe, and talking about how they were on the ground with the chiefs, and you know, the moms are excited because their kids are coming into puberty and they're preparing their rites and rituals, but then they want to have, you know, the FMG, you know, no, FGM, I always get it wrong, you know, female genital mutilation, because it's how they celebrate it. And it's like, no, you cannot do that, you know, how. And so I guess as women, and I always say, we are not going to, it doesn't matter whether it's male, female, that we're not really going to be able to bring any meaningful change if we ignore culture. And also, we're not going to be able to make any meaningful change if we ever speak up for what is going on because of culture. And if we shut up because of culture, we're also not going to be able to make any change. So how do we, you know, in terms of knowing that, because I think sometimes we walk with our gut instinct of, you know what, I don't think this is right for me. How do we utilize that innate skill that we have as women? Because I believe that each and every one of us would have experienced that, where maybe you've gone for a job interview or you started a job and your boss has looked at you in a certain way, and you know in your heart that I'm not too sure that's right, you know, or you, what do you call it, said something, you walked in, and I mean, we know back in May what was happening around the issue of color, and you know in your heart that's not right. or you hear another woman speaking and you think, oh, you know, our culture, we do this, and you know in your heart, surely that can't be right for that woman. How do we hold and really know that how we're feeling, you know, that innate voice within us as women that lets us know this is right, this is not wrong? Same as when your child is ill and you know this is not just any normal sickness, this is one we call the doctor. How do we as women build that, you know, within us? How can we trust, I think is the word, how can we trust that inner instincts that, you know, I believe like God has given us to be able to know and identify and feel? How do we trust that voice? Because I think if we can trust us, we can trust other people around us. We can trust another woman when they're trying to lift us up and enable us and come alongside. So how have you, in your own journey as a leader, learned to trust that inner instinct as a woman? And I'm looking at Maddie, so I think.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. You're looking at me. The problem is I can see everybody.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just laughing because Sarah's moved from one side of the screen to the other. Sorry. Okay, so let me give you my experience, because at the age of 29, I was lying on the floor as my husband was putting his size 9 feet into my stomach. My 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, were standing there screaming. It was mid-afternoon, it was a sunny day, the neighbours were in the garden, they could hear my screams. Nobody came to help, nobody. Now, I stand on a stage and I speak and make just as I'm doing today, and every single time I will point out that domestic violence is an injustice. It's not a cultural thing. My husband was English. It's not something that happens behind closed doors and it's domestic. It's a societal issue, and it happens because nobody says anything against it. So unless we keep pointing out that it can happen to any one of us, and it's 1 in 3 women and it's 1 in 5 men, then we're not going to get to change the world. And this is something that now I'm known to be fighting for, so that when I see harassment in the workplace or sexual harassment, I won't keep quiet. I will name and I will shame. We have to do that. You are, all of you, every single one of you on my screen are privileged because we have access to the internet, because we have laptops and these tools. Now, with that privilege, you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is to fight for those who cannot fight. And that, I think, Tina, is the only way we are actually going to get the change that we are all looking to see. And actually, that's what women want. We want a fairer, a more equal society. There's no such thing as being fair, but we can have a more fairer society. So that would be my thing. Don't keep your mouth shut. If you see it, say it.
Thank you. And Lisa and Robin, you know, how do you trust that inner instinct that allows you to, you know, to speak up?
Yeah, I think you said something. I think God has given women that gift. I really do think that we have that innate sense, right? It's that mother sense, that woman. We know when our kids are hanging out with bad kids. We know when a guy's not right for our daughter, right? And we just know, we know that. I believe it's a gift. Now, how you get trust with that gift is something else. But I think it's like anything with trust. It's, you start out small, right? You start out trusting it, speaking up. You don't have to go straight to, you know, speaking on stage. You probably might speak around your dinner table. I know on the last team that I managed, I made a very conscious effort that I was hiring and I work in IT, and generally it's tough to get women in IT, and it's tough to make sure that you have a good diverse team. And I just made a conscious effort that I was going to hire diversity on my team. And I made a conscious effort. We didn't have any people of color. So I told the recruiters and myself, I was interested in hiring people of color. I was interested in hiring women of color, and I held to my guns. And when I left that job, I told them I actually promoted one of the young men that was a man of color that I'd hired on my team, and I promoted him into my backfill. And I told him, I said, look, I made a conscious effort to make this a diverse team. And we had, but I've made those small steps. Now, is that changing the world? No, probably not, but it changed their worlds, right? It changed the world of the 6 or 7 people that I hired, and I made a conscious effort and a conscious decision. And when I moved to I'll continue to do that. But I also spoke up about it, and I let him know, hey, this is the culture I want to build. I was building on this team, and here's why you were here, and here's why I hired this woman, and this is why I hired. And so we had a beautiful team. We had a beautiful team that people around our company recognized, and they appreciated our diversity. And so I just say, start where you are, right? And then you start to trust yourself, and then that circle gets a little bigger, and then it gets a little bigger, and then it impacts those 6 people. They change in their circle, and it doesn't have to be earth-shattering.
Yeah, I would mirror what Robin said. I agree 1,000,000%. So my daughter worked for Robin on her team, and so I can back up what she said about that, right? You've got to be intentional. But to Maddie's point, I feel like, you have to not be afraid. So I was a very outspoken advocate in the automotive industry, being one of the only women. And I took on some big guys. I not only took on individuals, but I took on an industry. I took it on in the press, national press, things like Mornings with Maria on Fox and things like that. And I'll tell you, you have to be prepared for the backlash, and boy, backlash was there ever. Yeah. And, but I believe that when you're walking in your purpose, when I came to the automotive industry, people said, well, why did you come back? And I said, I came back to revolutionize an industry. I didn't come back to sell cars. I didn't come back to be number one. Like, all that came because of, but I came back to revolutionize the industry. So I think when you're crystal clear on your purpose, what is your purpose as to why you're doing what you're doing, you're able to handle the backlash. And I mean, hate letters. There was times I had to go to Detroit. I had security at one point when I had to go up against the labor union on some things. And so, you have to be prepared for it. And so if you're not really grounded in purpose and in why you're doing what you're doing, number one, and number two, do you fundamentally believe that what you do matters? Right? Everybody out here, these are women, we're women from all around the world. And I would venture to say, Robin and I are probably some of the only Americans on here. And so as a country, I think we're probably very blessed. And I think the world looks at us right now. And I've heard this from our friends and women friends from around the world. They're like, you're so lucky, you have it so good. We do in many ways, but we're one of the only countries in the world that have not had a woman president.
Yeah, exactly.
Many of you have had women presidents or prime ministers or, monarchy, which, Tina, you know me, girl. I'm all about the monarchy. Like, if that queen ever steps down, I could run for that deal. I am there. I love the monarchy. But anyways, but around the world, so people look at us as we're supposed to be one thing, but we've never had a woman hold the highest office in our country. So it's just very interesting when we look at, as women, what we're up against. But fundamentally, I don't care where we live and what country any of us are from on this today, we're still second-class citizens to the men. Whether you're in America or you're in the UK or you're in Uganda or you're in Kenya or you're in Israel, wherever you may be, we're still second-class citizens. And I would think every woman on here would agree with that statement. And like, what's up with that? And I want to give you ladies, because you are women of faith, will you grab that book of Lori Champion's Woman Up? So our pastor and our very dear friend, Lori Champion, and I really want to impart this on you because I know you all are Christian women from around the world. So our dear friend and our pastor wrote this book called Woman Up, right? And she wrote it about Deborah. okay, in the Old Testament. And the thing I will tell every single one of you is that God built us to lead, which is why Deborah was in Judges from the Old Testament. And God, anytime God needed to get something done, he went to Deborah. And he said, she said, you gather the judges, right? And so even from the beginning of time with Adam and Eve. And so it was so powerful to me when I interviewed her and we talked through it. And I've read the book about 3 times and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And as much work as I've done with women, Robin has done with women, a lot of ours was on the right to vote, celebrating the anniversary of the right to vote in the US, which we just hit 100 years. But the fact that God, you read the Old Testament and you read Judges, God told Deborah, like he went to her when he needed something done. And what that tells me as I've really studied that is that we're not stepping into our own power. See, God gave us the power in the Old Testament. He gave it to us through Deborah, okay? Deborah was a force to be reckoned with. And so that makes me know what God's intentions were for us. And so I think for a long time, I think women are like, oh, we were just the rib and he pulled it out. And so we're second. We're not. We're not. God was very intentional in how he powered women. And we don't walk in it. We don't claim it. So to Maddie's point, sometimes there are times that when we should be walking and talking in that power, believing that God gave it to us. And hey, I've done it too. Okay. So I'm not doing this to any of you because I've done it too. And we're not saying, hey, guess what, boys? You know what? He gave me this power and you're not going to take it away from me. And then that's, I think, Tina, when you start walking in faith. You walk in faith that God empowered us as leaders and for our whole lives, New and Old Testament, New Testament, and over hundreds and thousands of years, as women, we've sort of accepted that backseat, and that is not what God, intended for us. He did not intend us to be the backseat or submissive to men. That isn't the word. So that would be so, and that was really big to me when I interviewed my friend for the book. And of course I've read the Bible, you've read it 100 times, but when you really dig in and you study Deborah and you study what God's intentions were
and how he made us.
Yeah, and how he made us.
How he made us.
But just the fact he needed something done, he didn't call the boys, he called Deborah. Right? And so how are we not walking in that power that he gave us? Is that us? Probably. Is that fear? Society? Where we are in the world, where we come from? Like I said, I've got friends all over the world like, oh my God, you live in America. You're so lucky. I'm like, we haven't had a woman president. There's third world countries who have women leaders. We haven't. So there you go.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing that she mentioned Deborah. Tina, this is what we were talking about yesterday. So Lisa, thank you for saying this. Actually, again, my role model. Well, I have to say that also Deborah was in the Middle East. And this is something I would love to begin with, that being a woman in Africa, in Egypt, in the Middle East, this is also another layer of, how we say, it wasn't an easy journey again. I would say that there are multi-factor again. So first of all, I need to understand whom I am, like I said previously, but the culture and everything that is around us, men-dominated society, sometimes it's beyond our capacities. So I would say that we need each other in order to make this happen. So having this platform of supporting each other, sharing our, experiences in itself, it's a very important, making this happen in a very small steps, because it's not easy. Sometimes you cannot compare each country, each society, each, how we say, a history is laying a lot of burden on us to speak. So first of all, we need to make it happen, maybe in a very small platform like this. And by the time, this will encourage us to speak up. After a while, like you said, Lisa, we understand that we are here to stand for each other, not only women, but also Deborah was hand in hand with Barak in order to bring victory. So we know how to make this in a very, how we say, comfort zone, because we're not there yet. We need to understand that they need us, and we can together work in harmony and bring even victory that can change and transform nations. And this is the lie that we are living. We are living in a lie that we can't, and that we have to fear, or we have to wrestle. And of course we have to wrestle, but in the Middle East you have to do it in a very smart way. You have to make it like a network of believers. We need to, you know, throughout your way of communication, and it has to be diplomatic, you know. You cannot just push. It has to be learning how to earn the respect, and how by your excellence and your hard working you can make them listen, and by the time they listen to you. And this is what happened to me, to convince the minister to establish a unit for transparency in Egypt. It wasn't an easy journey, but it happened because of, first of all, perseverance. Keep moving, keep kicking, keep excelling, and speak up your voice, and learn how to build around you and lobby with other men. We need to make this equilibrium happen. And it's not easy, I know, in some places, but if it happened here in Egypt, maybe it can happen everywhere else.
Wonderful.
Sarah, I just want to say thank you for, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're right. And I should say, you know, everything, this is all from the Middle East, right? And these are teachings that we believe, you know, as Christians in America. So yes. And so I think that's great that you and I are, you know, we're sitting in different parts of the world, but we're talking about the same woman, right? From the Middle East.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you so much for that. You know, I'm just thinking back to like when I was growing up. And please, if you have any questions, would you kindly put it in the chat box? And then we will pick those up and go into Q&A session as well. So as you're listening, if you have any questions, put them in, but we have some questions as well that we've run through. So growing up, you know, we were always like around 13 children at home. And my mom's children, I was the middle child. And, you know, even exams, if you don't come first, second, you're stupid. You know, why are you so stupid? You know, why can't you think like your brother? You know, gosh, why am I paying school fees? You know, so majority of myself, my friends, and certainly growing up in Africa, because I was born in Ghana, grew up in Ghana, you're almost told that you're broken. You're almost told that like you are just not good enough, not fit for purpose, you know, like you're just useless, right? However, whilst we've been preparing for this conversation, the two words that have been, you know, highlighted for us is restoring and rebuilding. And if we look at the word rebuild, to rebuild is to dismantle and reassemble, to replace, re-strengthen, and reinforce, to revise, reshape, or reorganize. And we know that, you know, how often have we had like, you know, a really beautiful necklace or a bit of you piece of jewelry or even a clothing that, you know, a stain or something with, I don't want to throw this away. And we go through finding somebody to repair it to make it good as new. So even if a piece of jewelry is still held as valuable, money, and I think we've all heard about, you know, if I tear money, it still hasn't lost its value. If I scrunch it up, it still hasn't lost its value, it still holds its value. And so we know that if we see things which are not human beings, which are not women, are still retaining their value, why is it that as women, it becomes so hard for us to feel broken that we can't rebuild? And we know that to rebuild, you have to dismantle. And sometimes you have to dismantle certain things. You really have to untangle. Like a big ship at the dock, you have to unhook, take the anchor off, otherwise you're still docked. So sometimes you have to literally free yourself. But why do you feel that, you know, in your experience, in your journey, why do we women let that stop us, limit us? And I'm going to read, when we started this survey, some of the messages that is coming. I want to be heard. I want to be treated fairly. I want to be fully supported in the goals and dreams I choose to chase because they're in my passion. I don't want to be bound by responsibilities. I want to be paid equivalent to my males. I want to be fat and not have anybody's eye roll at me. That was my favorite one. You know, I want to be seen more than a physical body. I want to be valued for my mind, my character, my life, my experience. You know, I want to be protected. I want freedom. who is taking these away from us? Like, who's taking these away from? Because I had to make that choice. And for me, it was my father. I had to make the choice to say, you know what, actually, I am not responsible for his happiness. He may have given birth to me, paid my school fees, but I sat the exams. And so I own my certificate. So I had to make that choice that I am not going to be responsible for, you know, whether somebody thinks I'm great or not. I'm not responsible for the emotion. I am responsible for myself. And if I am to rebuild my life and to find my strength, then I have to learn to cut myself, you know, unanchor myself so I can move. So the question to you as panel is, who is taking these choices away? Who's taking our freedom away? And why do we feel that we can't rebuild?
Well, I'm going to say, I think we take a lot of our own freedom away because we're mired in fear and we're mired in cultural beliefs that were maybe imparted to us by our father, not my father in particular, but like Tina, your father or some other fathers or other people in our families, are maybe our religions, maybe parts of the the world, I should say, the world that we live in, you know, the cultural beliefs. And so, you know, that's my vote. And the thing that, you know, when I go around the world and I say, you know, the only person who can take your power is you. But you have to believe that. You have to believe 100% that you've got the power and you've got to own it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Maddie and Robin. Sorry.
Go, Robin. Go, Robin.
I was just thinking about the who takes your power, and I think, I know this is just my personal experience. My whole life, I felt like I had something to prove to somebody. I had to be this, I had to be that, I had to get this job, and you know, it probably, honestly, it probably took until my mid 40s before I realized that I was enough, that I was okay. I didn't need any more affirmation from outside, fill in the blank, whoever it was at the time, whether it started in school or it moved to my career or my husband. It took me a long time. I think it goes back to Sarah talking about the pain and, you know, just realizing that I'm enough. And then that also ties full circle back to what we talked about, which is women helping other women. As soon as I felt like I was enough, then I'm free to help everybody else, right? It was, but why? I don't know. I don't know why I grew up thinking I wasn't enough and that I had something to prove and that I had to do all these things in order to be good enough. I don't know who took my power away. And what's so amazing is when you finally do get to that place where you do feel that power, it's so opposite of what you think it's going to be, because it isn't about power like this. It's a peaceful power because now you're able to help others. And that's always been my philosophy too on just leadership in general, is if you're a leader and you think it's about you, you're completely wrong, right? Leadership is nothing to do with you. Leadership has everything to do with the people around you. Mm-hmm. And so I wish I knew, because if there were, you know, I would spend the rest of my days talking to young girls, helping them figure out how to not give that power away.
Amen.
I don't know. I don't know why we feel the way we feel as young girls, but I can tell you, finally, I don't feel that way anymore. So.
Thank you so much, Robin. Mm-hmm. And Maddie, please.
I'm going to give you one piece of homework, and the second one, I'm going to give you a lesson. The first piece of homework is this. You take a blank piece of paper, and on the top of the piece of paper, you write down what it is that you want to do. I'm going to give you one wish. You can wish for anything. You can't wish for more wishes. Please don't wish for money. It won't make you any happier. What would you wish for? You've got 30 seconds to do this exercise. You do it in your own time, but you have 30 seconds to do this exercise. 95% of people cannot do this exercise. 95% of people.
Why that?
Because you have never been told that you can have what you want. But you've got to know what it is that you want. And the problem is, people don't know what they want. So therefore, when you've written something down, the universe has got to know what it's going to give you. I'm sorry, I'm not into the God thing. The universe is going to give you what you want.
Yes.
Right? But when 95% of people can't do it, well, why do you expect that most of us are walking around moaning and being unhappy? And here comes the second lesson. Okay, I'm flying regularly. Before COVID, I was flying regularly. You get on an aeroplane, you get an emergency briefing. Please put your own oxygen mask on before helping somebody else. If you can't breathe, how can you help anybody else? And that's the problem. Just as Lisa's just said, not Lisa, the other one, sorry.
Robin.
Robin, sorry, apologies, Robin, your name just disappeared, apologies. It's exactly the same as Robin just said. We don't look after what we want first. So we go through life regretting that we're not doing what we want. We're helping everybody else. I work with so many NGOs and they all say to me, okay, we don't have money, we can't do this, we can't help other people. No, but you're not helping yourself first. Where's your finances coming from? I had to run my own businesses, or I do run my own businesses, and my businesses fund my NGOs. Therefore, I am sustainable. Therefore, I can breathe and I can eat. But people don't look at that. So please put your own oxygen mask on first. You service your car, you go to the dentist, you do your hair. When did you last put me time in the diary and stick to it?
Oh, this is so good. I love it. You know, we go to the dentist. I did my hair today. So that is so true. Like so true in terms of how we many times we fail ourselves by not prioritizing, you know, the fact that we're valuable and that, you know, our health, our mental state of being is important just as much as the business we're running, the company we're running, the family that we're running. And, you know, I guess it's in these safe spaces of being able to remind one another that we find the strength to do the same. So thank you so much again, Maddie. I just love it. It's like, whoa, I want to be like Maddie when I grow up, like really. I've got so much more to go. I'm only 25, so I've got a lot more longer to go. Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to add, please?
Yeah, very quickly, I have to say that it wasn't easy for me to do this. So it took me some time. I don't know why, again, like you just said, Robin, but in the Middle East, I have to say, women, we grew up with lots of, how I say it, maybe Amina, you know, a little bit opposition, like you are meant to only to bring children and stay at home. And even if you do, you have lots of responsibilities. If you go to the workplace, you have to do everything. So we end up with a lot of pain. I have to say this. And I wonder if any of these beautiful faces don't know this word in their life. All of us, no one wasn't in this place. So in order for women to really speak up and to do all what we are asking her to do, she has to be healed. So we need to work hard on inner healing. So it's only when I was on purpose, trying to heal myself. This is only when I understood that I have a value in myself. I was created in God's image. But I looked also about this pain and why we all endure this, why women have to go in more pain than men. I don't know why, but the answer came from the very first beginning. There was a hostility between,
Did we lose Sarah?
and women. Why? Because we have the source of life. Women bring the source of life. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So the thing is, from the very first beginning, there was a declared war. Even I searched for it. It was in the message that from the very first beginning, between the kingdom of light, let's say, and the kingdom of darkness, women is a threat because she's the one who brings life, and she's the one that it's gonna hit the enemy, because it was said that the offspring of women, will at some time, I know that this is in the Old Testament in Genesis, if anybody don't know where is it, but there is a war, an undeclared war between women and, the evil or the darkness. So they are very much afraid of us. That's why we undergo lots of harassment, and even beautiful Africa with all those beautiful women, we had to go under lots of, how we say, we were destined, to make a war that we never knew about it. So just knowing the fact that there is a battlefield and there is ongoing war make us a little bit more and more to be armored, and I have to say that three things made my life like, standing up like this. First of all, like I said in the beginning, to understand who I am, my identity. I have a value in myself. It's not about that I'm married or my job, like Maddie said. It's not about the titles. It's about myself. In myself, I have a big value. I was created in God's image. Second, that I have a calling. I was brought to this world for a calling. Maybe this battlefield, I have a purpose in life in order to stand up maybe for women, in order to bring justice, in order, I don't know, but each one of us were created for a very special purpose that is very unique, because each one of us is a masterpiece. And the third, and this is the very most important thing that I want to stress on, is to have a community. We need a support system. Women needs to support. And maybe could be women, but it could be also men. We have to have a support system, like 2 or 3 together, that we share same aspiration, visions, or anything. Meeting together, standing up together, fighting together. This makes like a very safe island or ecosystem that enable women to believe in itself and to keep kicking and to keep rising. And by the time we arise, it's like the butterfly again. So it has to go through different stages. Some of it, it's pain. We have to be isolated sometimes. We have to be in prison. Prison could be emotionally, by the way. It could be opposition. It could be a very hard marriage. It could be a very hard situation at work, whatever. This situation will never stop. But we need to make the 3 factors together. So who I'm very important. I'm here to do something. And this makes me every day waking up. Sometimes we don't want to wake up. We just want to, run away. But it's about continuing persistently each day to keep moving. And, supporting each other. All those 3 can, by the time, make us reach. And I would say that unleashing women into their destiny can change nations.
Yes.
Yes.
Completely. Yes.
Yes.
And if the U.S. had a woman president, that helped too, I promise.
We're voting for you, Lisa. We're really voting for you. Like,
Hey,
here. Never
I'm
say
voting for a monarchy in the U.S. And then look out, ladies, I'm going for that crown. I like it.
I think Megan is checking that out first. We love you Americans. So we've got Megan on this side of the world. And
I love Meghan Markle. Yes, we love her.
I think one of the things that keep coming up, and I've got it open here, is we, again, looking at the survey results that came in, I want to have a seat. I want to be seen, heard. I want to be valued. I want it to be appreciated for what I bring. I want to make a difference in my generation. And one of our mandates, in terms of our vision as what we do here in Nations of Women, is first of all inspiring women. And we know what inspiration is. Even when in your darkest moment, you hear somebody else's story, and you hear how, I mean, Maddie, when you were speaking, I was crying. You know, I was like, I've got mascara on tonight, you know, but I could resonate with what you went through as a woman. And so that gave me hope to know that, wow, you know, if I haven't been through that, but if I come across a sister, I know I have a sister in my tribe that I can, you know, be able to say, you know what, you can come through this, right? So we know that that's like one way we can inspire one another as women is to share our story, because all too often we share, oh, I want this, I did this, but we also know that there's struggle. There is struggle in the wins. And I get, you know, for me personally, it came a time that I felt too unsure about sharing my challenges because of how I would be judged. And would somebody use that against me? You know, would somebody sabotage me with that? Would somebody try to cut my heels, you know, because I made myself vulnerable? But I think the time has come as leaders that we have to be able to rise above that and still be able to share the struggles within the challenges. So that's one thing we do as inspiring women. And then we also enable, because enabling is giving somebody everything they need. So if I gave somebody the tools to make cake, which is flour, sugar, butter, and everything else, and I don't give them an oven, we're still not going to get no cake. So we give them tools and resources to be able to produce, you know, bring the output, and then strategically connecting them, because we're all a product of somebody's, what do you call it, connection. Somebody entrusted us with their friend, with their, you know, job or whatever it is, you know, like it's very, I mean, we have that here with Robin, where Lisa's entrusted us with Robin to join us tonight. But also, we know that to be able to get a seat at the table, sometimes it's a fight, but many times it's also about somebody opening the door for us. So how can we be able to recognize that, you know what, actually to rise above that place of, oh, you know, it's to ask for help is weakness, you know, is weakness, because many a times as leaders, when we have that seat, it's a lonely place. It's a lonely, lonely place. And we wish there were other women who are, you know, like-minded like us, that we could think together and work together. But there is that fear. So how can we rise above? You know, we know we want to have a seat at the table. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be able to make a difference. We want to be assertive. We want to be, you know, at the forefront, making a change. But then we don't want to ask for help. How do we rise above that? How do we be able to achieve that which we want? By learning to be able to ask for that help, ask for that support, you know, ask for that other woman to open the door for us, or say, you know what, I'm not too sure, or I admire what you're doing. How are you doing this? Can I learn from you? How do we rise above those, I think, that limitations that we place on ourselves? Because the guys don't do that. So how do we as leaders, we know what we want, but we don't want to ask anybody for, you know, for that help. We just don't want to do it. How do we break that barrier?
So Tina, I would say, especially in business, we have to, you need a mentor. I probably mentor about 30 or 40 women I still do to this day. And it doesn't mean I meet with them at 2 o'clock every Wednesday. All right. So a mentor doesn't have to be in the sense of that traditional mentor. And men make good mentors. So don't think that your mentor has to be a woman. Sometimes men are the best mentors in the world. And when you've got that mentor, and sometimes if it is a man, and sometimes you've got to say, I need you to open that door for me. Mm-hmm. You know, I've had men open huge doors for me, right? And that I couldn't have walked through on my own. Yes. And especially in male dominated industries that I've worked in. And one of them being the former chairman, he's only former because he's dead, but he was the chairman of the board of Ferrari and Alfa Romeo and Maserati. And, you know, he became like really a mentor. It was like, you know, he opened doors for me. I asked him to. And we have to be able to ask. So not only do we need women mentors, but we need men too. Yeah. Because sometimes men will open bigger doors. But to have a mentor, you have to be a mentor. So that's one of the things I tell these gals that I work with, you know, And again, it's not every Tuesday. You know, sometimes I may not talk to them for 6 months. They follow my social media. They'll drop me a note. I'm very intentional to get back with them at some level. And, you know, but then I tell them, look, you want me to help you? Well, then you need to put your hand down and you need to help somebody below you, because I'm not going to help you if you're not going to go help somebody else. Mm-hmm. That's a steadfast rule of mine. And I have mentored hundreds of women over the last 10 years. But it's like, I'm not doing it for you if you're not going to do it for someone else.
Thank you. Amen to that. Like, really, thank you, because that is the truth. You've nailed, you know, hit the nail on the head, is that we have to be able and willing to lift other people up, to, you know, hold the door for others as well. What about yourself, Robin?
I was thinking, I wanted to talk about a little bit of what you said in the very beginning, before the question about the mentoring piece or the helping others piece. Something you said that I feel like was really powerful is about the vulnerability that we as women have to be able to accept and embrace. And I'm just sick and tired of the shame game. So we are so ashamed.
Maddie's like,
you know,
yes, for God's sake, thank you.
We believe this lie of shame, whatever it is. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not. And I've made mistakes, right? And I've made bad mistakes. And what has really given me power in the last few years is just being authentic and just admitting my own, you know, whether it's in business or whether it's in, you know, you learn a whole lot more from your failures than you do your successes. And whenever you feel, you know, it gives you such power. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's through the pain where the beauty comes. And so that lie that I have to be perfect, I have to be this, I have to be that, I can't tell anybody I'm afraid, or that I screwed up, or, you know, and so if there's anything that I could say is just strip away that shame. That shame is a lie. It is an absolute lie. And when you get through the shame part and you start living in your authentic self, and then you are open and honest with people about your insecurities, how you can help me, I just found it's just such I'm just at peace. I guess I'm at a place in my life now, personally and professionally, where I'm just at peace. I'm at peace with who I am. And so therefore I can help other people, and you can like me, warts and all, right? And I'll, you know, another day, another time, I'll tell you that whole story, because it's what I feel like the next piece of my life is going to be about, is helping women that have lived in shame. And it's a lie. It's just a flat out lie. But in order for us to be authentic, you know, we lie to ourselves, and we don't share. And so as long as we're doing that, then the enemy wins. And so it's whenever we break down that shame and start sharing with each other true, authentic, what's really going on in our lives. And then those are some of my best friends. I mean, Lisa and I have been to hell and back together. But you know what?
We want to go to Egypt, though, Sarah. We've been sitting here going, we want to go to Egypt. We have not been to Egypt.
We have the best prices now, Lisa. And you know.
Anyway, I just want to encourage everybody to not be ashamed, and to not worry, you know, to not be afraid of all the things that all the lies that you're telling yourself.
Because all of us have probably done a lot of the same stuff, really, at the end of the day. If all of us sat around and drank wine, we'd be like, oh, I did that too. Yeah, that happened to me, right? We've all done it. Like, there's no perfect person. I mean, there just isn't.
Yes.
But we need to hear it. We need to.
Right.
Sometimes we need, you know, it wasn't easy. I didn't become like this at an easy way. I need someone next to me telling me, you know what, you can do it, and you know, you can cross it over, and you will be okay, and trust tomorrow we'll do it together. Sometimes we need someone just to walk with us, you know,
yep,
on the journey. And those simple things are very powerful. And you know what, my life changed because we have a group of Deborahs, by the way. We felt,
love Deborah.
yeah, 4 of us, and God is like you know, and using each one of us. And there is something unique happens when women stand together with the same passion, and sometimes even brokenness, sharing, like you just saying, you know, Robin, we have to take this out of us. The shame is because sometimes we don't speak it up. We need to take this pain out. You know, we need to search for anyone we can trust, anyone. And I believe that there is always open doors, and each day come with new mercy. And this is the story of my life. So I believe in a creator. So I am a woman of faith. I know, Maddie, that the universe, but again, the universe, there is something working behind the scene, okay? So there is someone there, and I believe he is my creator, and he loves me, and he always sends me something. You know, sometimes it's a message, sometimes it's a face, sometimes it's with other with same passion. He opened doors, and we need to cling on this. So for us, we need to do some effort too. We need to step one step. And if we can't at all, one step at a time. And this is enough.
You know, I've got a friend who is the princess, Saudi princess, out of Saudi Arabia, and she's the 109th daughter of the deposed king, King Saudi. Anyways, and she came to the U.S. and she was the first Saud from the Middle East news reporter. So then you know, her brother threatened to kill her if she came back to Saudi. And so it's, you know, and so she's a very big women's rights activist. She lives in New York, and you know, and it's so interesting, you know, I'd spent some time with her a few years back, and it's just interesting that women around the world, she said, you know, you can say things, Lisa, that I can't say in my country. She said, I have to fight behind the scenes. And I had to come to America. And then when I came to America, I was cut off by, I mean, she was the 109th child of the deposed king, and the uncle killed the king. And I know you guys probably know the story better than I do. But she said, you know, in different parts of the world, women can't speak up like you do. And I said, so tell me what you're trying to tell me. And she said, you have a bigger responsibility.
That's right.
And any of us that are allowed to speak up, like Tina, I know in the UK, and Sarah, I don't know about in Egypt, and Maddie, I'm sorry, where are you from, Maddie?
Well, officially the UK, unofficially I'm a global citizen. So at the minute I'm in France. Sometimes it's Delhi, sometimes it's New York. It's France today. It's France today.
But again, but the women, like in France, I feel like, you know, women can speak up, but again, not knowing the culture as much in Egypt, but we're inviting ourselves, just so you know that, Sarah, we want to come hang out with you. But that being said, you know, I think there's women for all around the world here. And so, and not everybody can say out on the streets. I know that my friend, the princess, Her Royal Highness, cannot say any of that in Saudi. And in fact, she would be beaten. And that's why she came to the US, and she was beaten. And so it's just very interesting. And so I think it's great, Tina, and I want to compliment you on how you brought these women together, because this is a safe forum, right? That we can have the conversation, except all of Facebook's watching us, but that's all good. But anyways, but that being said, I think that's important, you know, to get women together from different parts of the world, because, you know, maybe there's a story that Robin and I can tell that maybe one of you can't because of your current situation. Right?
Hey, Dr. Tina, can I speak? Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, can you give me like 2 minutes just for Maddie, and then we just come to you?
Yes,
please.
absolutely.
Yes, Maddie.
So much as I love you, Tina, right, and all of the ladies here, can we please stop victimizing women?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We are strong individuals, and if we keep telling everybody that we need help, we're not confident, we're not competent, we are just fueling the male messages.
Yes.
Right? We need to stop victimizing women. We can help them, but I'm sorry, I'm a survivor. And I made it happen because I wanted it to happen. And I go back to that blank piece of paper. Once you know what your focus is,
yes,
you will start asking for help. You will not be afraid of going for training. You will ask people for support, and you will make sure that those doors get open. Yes. And I really want to endorse exactly what Lisa said, because I'm also mentoring usually I say 300 to 400 people around the world at any one time, like Lisa, not doing it every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, but I'm there on hand for people when they need it. It's about paying it forward.
Yes.
You must help those who you know are going to help others. Do not help anybody who is only doing it for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
But
Amen.
please, let's get to the stage where we start saying how brilliant women are instead of listing all the faults, because men equally have faults. Men are not competent. Men are not confident. They're extremely weak, which is why they don't accept women as equals. So come on, let's start playing the game properly.
Thank you so much. So Maddie, to that point, you know, where like we speak, hey, you're strong. Wow, you know, you're doing amazing. And how do we, you know, I have friends who will be like, wow, I love your hair today. You're looking so beautiful. It's like, oh, I don't, you know, I don't, you know how, like, oh, you're beautiful dress. Oh, it's only a cheap dress I bought from, like, how, you know, it's like, is that a vicious cycle?
Yeah, it is.
Or
Yeah, it is. You have to turn around to them and say, I told you you look nice. Please accept the compliment.
That's right.
You look amazing.
beautiful. Thank you, lady. So next time somebody, you know, refuses your compliment, you have to be assertive and say, no, I gave you that compliment and you're not refunding it. You're going to accept it.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you so much. So I'm very conscious of time and also, you know, Lisa and Robin's time. Joni, if we can take your question, please.
So I just want to say this. I've enjoyed my time. Tina, you know, you are one of my sheroes on the planet. I love exactly who you are and all your fullness and all 360 of your degrees. And I just want to say, I've heard some enormous and phenomenal and intriguing comments today. Yes, I will say a few things as a Black American woman. I think absolutely if we set ourselves out or if we brand ourselves as victims of someone else's ideal and idea, we commit moral treason against ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm no one's victim, right? I can only victimize myself. Unless there's some criminal or legal issue against me, if I set myself up as a person who needs assistance beyond what I accept or need or acknowledge, I set myself up as someone who cannot on her own stand up. And that's a moral treason that I refuse to do to myself. That's as a Black American woman. Second, as a woman who speaks, trains, travels internationally, as women, we are more powerful than we have ever been able to expose ourselves to be. When at our most powerful, we were considered witches, and witches with a B and other things, right? We've been accused of being something supernatural, but that is the power of the feminine, is that it is supernatural. We have been given gifts and talents and extraordinary power and prowess. And when we refute that and refuse it, it bottles itself up and it bursts forth in a way that isn't normal because we haven't learned to use it in a way that influences others as leaders are supposed to do. Mm. So I'm just ecstatic at what we're having today as conversation, because what it says to me is women are coming to own what's inside of them naturally and innately, that we're coming to an understanding that there is a difference between the feminine and the masculine, or what we would call yin and yang, or positive and not negative, but the other positive, right? We're coming to understand that there are two sides to everything, that there are even two sides, frankly, to circles. Yeah. And so I'm excited, I'm encouraged, but I'm here to say, let's not continue to brand ourselves as victims of someone else's ideals, and their value system. Because you cannot commit treason against yourself unless you accept someone else's examination and standard of who you are and not your own.
Yes. Thank you.
So as a woman, what I want, right, is to accept my identification of who I am
Yes.
and what I want.
Thank you so much for that. So I know we haven't got long to go, and I just want us to wrap up. So we've been like, you know, all the questions that I've been framing have been part of the questions that came through for, you know, for our panel today. And in just wrapping up, of course, some of us believing, you know, like data, numbers to prove everything we say. So, you know, Lisa, Maddie, Sarah, we all know, and for the purposes of anybody that always needs data to to prove, it takes a man and a woman for all of us to come. Research proved it because we're here. It all, you know, it took a man and a woman for every one of us to get here. So I'm a strong believer that, you know, we need to work together with the, like Lisa, you talked about men mentoring us. And so in wrapping up, and particularly around the limitations we place on ourselves in terms of the shame and, you know, sometimes what we've been ingrained with, and sometimes it's circumstances, sometimes it's just we've been through so much by ourselves that we just feel so tired and weary. But even then, we still have strength. I know from my own experience last year, I experienced such great shame because I mentor businesses to start business to business. And then I lost every single money I could put my name down. And so it was like, how do I explain that to my family? What about my clients? So I just went into, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to deal with anybody. I was just sorry for myself because I felt such shame that I have failed, that I was like, how do you call it? Lied, if you will, because I teach other people, you know, to be aware of all the things that I've gone through. But it took my friends and then my family again, even my kids, to say, hey, mom, but you know, you tell other women, what would you tell your clients? What would you tell me if I was in this situation? And so through those hard questions that was asked, I was able to, you know, piece by piece by piece, you know, find my feet again and decide, you know what, I'm still going to open my heart again and love again and bring people, you know, close again, and really this time just step into who I know God has called me, even if I'm afraid, even if I'm alone, because I needed no one to convince me what I'd been called to do. So it was a defining moment, but it took me only 25 years because I'm only 25. I was 25 last year. I was 25 this year, you know, so it's taking me that long, like being on my knees to find my strength and to know what I wanted as a woman. So in wrapping up, what is your advice to women in terms of knowing what they want, breaking the barrier of shame, not victimizing one another, not victimizing ourselves, opening up the door for others, speaking up whenever we need to, using our instinct. You know, if you're wrong, you can apologize, but if you're right, you save their life. So, you know, combining all those good pieces that we've shared today, what is your, you know, like wrap up advice for any woman who's going to be listening, and also the men? Reason why I brought the men in, and also the men, because we need them as allies in some places, and in some places we need them locked away, you know, but most of the time we need them as allies to make it work. So what is your, you know, advice for another woman listening?
All right, so I'll start. You know, so I think the first thing is, Tina, I love what you said. I am, again, worked many years in the women's movement and in a male-dominated industry at the very top. And I very much believe that we need men as allies. There are good men and bad men, just like there are good women and bad women. So number one, figure out who your tribe is. Figure out who your allies are. And once you figure that out, you know, you need to rely on them. And, you know, there is a game of trust, and you're going to have to learn to trust even if you've been burned, because if you've been burned, you're gonna have to trust again. And that's just part of human nature. So I would say that. And then just all the things you said, Tina, I mean, I believe in all of that. And I agree with Maddie that women shouldn't be victims or anything like that. But we are still, any way you cut the mustard, there's 35 women CEOs for the Fortune 5. Like, we all know the stats. So, you know, we are still behind the 8 ball anyway. You cut the mustard. Okay. What Robin did, and that is being intentional in how you hire and how you affiliate and who you do business with and who you support. I always try to support women-owned businesses and women-run businesses. I try to hire women, you know, people, men and women of color, people that are different than me, because I want a different perspective, right? So I'll wrap mine with, you've got to be intentional. You have to build a tribe, and as women, I'm with you, Tina. I don't think men are the worst thing in the world. I think that there are some very good allies out there. I've had many of them in my career, and I've had some bad ones too. Whew, right? And so, but from them, I learned lessons. And sometimes it was the male ally who taught me how to fight the bad guy, literally. So I'll turn it to you now.
Yeah, I think you wrapped it up beautifully, Tina, and in what you said in your question. I thought that you did a great job. I would just say my wrap up is to that shame and being authentic and being who you are and not ashamed of it. If there's one thing I could leave you with, it would be that. And the authentic. I used to work in India, and I had these guys that told me there's no way they'll ever accept you there. You're not going to be successful working in India. They're never going to accept a Western white woman from Texas in India. And what I found is when you are authentic, you are authentically trying to help, whether it's in business or it's personal. It mitigates all barriers. It mitigates all risk. And so I would just say, be authentic. Be authentically you. It's like Sarah said, it's why you were put on this earth. Nobody else can be you. And so I would just say, be authentic. And when you do, I found it just opens, it opens all the barriers.
Thank you so much. Maddie, please.
Well, as my Saturday night glass of red wine is sitting there on the terrace waiting, now the sun has gone down, mine is a really quick takeaway. Gandhi said, you must be the change you want to see. Maddie says, you must be the change you want to see. No excuses.
Beautiful. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Maddie. And Sarah?
Mine is keep connected to the source of power. Mm-hmm. There is a source of power, and we need to know. For me, it's my loving God who really loved me and created me uniquely, and he gave me a purpose. So we need to, all of us, we need from day one now make small steps into, first of all, making sure our identity, our value. Second is to keep all the time energized by our purpose. Our purpose makes us energized each day. We have to make even small steps, but you will feel satisfied. And search for someone, a believer like you. Whoever you will find, just search and keep connected to the source of power.
Thank you so, so much. And, you know, for me, it's Nations of Women is a place that our heart is to create a safe space that you can come and be all of who you're meant to be. You can come and become everything that you were created and born to be, because we all have greatness within us, right? And also a safe space where we can have conversations like this, where you have no fear of being judged, no fear of anybody using anything against you to cut your heels or to, you know, whack you down or anything. Like Maddie said, there's no such thing as failure. Because if you fail, then you've never learned. And therefore it means that in every time, every season, everything that we go through, the good, the bad, and the ugly, there's so many things that we can learn. And my mother always says, you can even learn from a fool if you pay close attention. So Mother, thank you. And, you know, to each and every one of you, thank you so much. We will create a summary of, you know, the nuggets that we've got from tonight and share that with you. If based on where you are placed geographically, create challenges for you where you're suffering, but you don't feel comfortable sharing, please reach out to us. Our email is now@nationsofwomen.com. I promise you, we have sisters globally we will be able to pair you and connect you, because that's one, what we're working on in our vision is strategically connecting women so that we can connect you with a sister who will be your arm, lock arms with you, and be able to walk through whatever it is you're walking through. And if you're also listening and you have a voice, you have a message that needs to be heard based on your experience, that you have learned through life, then we want to hear from you. But once again, thank you, Lisa, Robin, Sarah, and Maddie. Please go on YouTube and, search for Maddie's TED Talk, Sex on Its Heels. We would actually send you that you would be you on its head, right? Not on its tail. I got that badly wrong. We will send this to you, and until we come your way again, we're going to be looking at the role of, men in enabling women globally. We're going to look at the role of education in enabling and empowering men, how we can advance Africa, because Africa is very much on my heart, technology, innovation, all of those things. So please stay tuned and reach out if there is anything we can do to support you. You know that we're here for you. So thank you again. God bless each and every one of you. I love you all. And after Corona, I'm coming to hug you.
In Egypt, okay? Egypt, where it all began. You have to come.
Yes, we're coming to Egypt.
Yeah, Sarah, we're going to come to Egypt.
Like the best packages, we have the land of mysteries. You all know of it. So as if 1/3 of the monuments of the whole world is in Egypt. So now it's best time ever, the best weather, the best packages with the prices. And
where are you in Egypt? Are you in Cairo?
I'm in Cairo, but we have to make a tour. Tina, Dr. Tina, if women would love to come, we will have to, to go to the sea and to go to the pharaohs and to go to diving. So just let me know when, and I'll make this amazing tour.
Okay, we will take you up on that.
We're on. Thank you so much again,
Bye.
Lisa, Robin,
Bye,
Maggie, Sarah, and everyone. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.